Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Insight, where we bring you the latest insights and perspectives on the most pressing issues facing our world today. I'm your host, Eugene Ochieng Kwach, and today we turn our attention to the current political crisis in Kenya, where tensions between the government and opposition parties continue to simmer, threatening to boil over at any moment. Joining us on the show are a panel of political analysts and experts who will help shed light on the root causes of the crisis, offer their perspectives on the way forward, and explore the implications of this situation, not just for Kenya, but for the wider region as well. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a thought-provoking discussion on one of the most important issues of our time. Gentlemen, I am joined with a series of guests, two guests, and one will be joining me much later on. My first guest is Mr. Ken Okoth. Ken Okoth is a political analyst. Thank you so much, Ken, for joining me for this intriguing conversation. Of course, it will be. And we have Victor Obuli. Victor Obuli is a constitutional lawyer also joining us for this conversation, a very critical conversation. Gentlemen, we are starting the conversation immediately. And I want to start with you, Mr. Ken Okoth. Yes. You understand the issues surrounding the country and the situation in the country currently. And let me be the devil's advocate for a moment. There were demonstrations last week on Monday. The opposition still plans for a demonstration on Monday next week, Thursday, and the subsequent days going forward. Well, the demonstration, as had been witnessed on Monday, had not only caused a halt of businesses within the central business district in the cities of Nairobi and Kisumu, but also there were chaos, which actually caused even the death of one student from Maseno University. Well, these are just but examples of many other issues that actually occurred during that day, and we are yet to experience much more, where we, of course, had seen that in cases like this, much negative things happen during such times. The opposition has also been accused by its critics of wanting to cause anarchy and mayhem in the country. Let me ask you, Mr. Okoth, is this the true position of the opposition?
Thank you. First, may I say thank you for inviting me to the show, Mr. Kwach.
Yes.
So that we can divulge into the issues affecting us as a nation. Mm-hmm. It is good that you said that you want to act as a devil's agent, but mm-hmm. the circumstances and issues that you raise mm-hmm. are matters that are being propagated by the government. Mm-hmm. But the opposition, as it is, mm-hmm. is exercising its democratic space, mm-hmm. and the opposition is exercising its constitutional right. Mm-hmm. The constitutional right in this aspect is when opposition, like in Kenya, the constitution doesn't have official opposition office. Mm-hmm. So when you as an opposition, you don't have an office, mm-hmm. and you've used all the channels that are available, mm-hmm. and you've gone to all the offices, you used the representatives of the communities that were elected, mm-hmm. and the government is not hearing you, mm-hmm. you move on into another stage where the government can hear you. And that is when we come to the right mm-hmm. to demonstrate mm-hmm. and picket, mm-hmm. and and to present petitions mm-hmm. to government offices so that you may be heard. Mm-hmm. So whatever happened on Monday and what the opposition is saying right now mm-hmm. is just a way of making the government to hear mm-hmm. what is happening in the country. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. I'll come back to you so that we can discuss that issue further, because there are other issues surrounding the demonstrations that are currently ongoing on in the country. Mm-hmm. It is not just normal demonstrations, as yes. you say, but we have witnessed scenarios whereby there have been there have been unrests and, of course, even mayhem in the country in certain places. But we are going to come to that. Let me come to you, Mr. Victor. Well, what is your what is your take actually on the simmering tension between the government and the opposition?
Yes, Mr. Kwach, thank you first of all for inviting me to this show. I'm very grateful. My take will be this. It is within the right of the opposition to picket and demonstrate, but it's not within their rights to allow their supporters to vandalize and even loot people's property. That one is not within the law, but they are within the law to demonstrate peacefully because the Constitution allows that. Yes.
Okay. But even as we talk about the rights, when we talk about the rights of Kenyan citizens, and lawyers have mentioned, actually talked about Article 38, if I'm not wrong, 37, 38,
yes,
about the right to picket and peaceful demonstration. From where you sit, is that the true picture of what is happening in the country right now?
You know, generally in any demonstration or protest, we have got a number of individuals that come in to participate. Some of them are goons, some of them are thieves, others are genuine demonstrators or protesters. And therefore, in such a scenario, there are some people who want to cause mayhem. And that is the reason as to why the police come in, not just to prevent them from looting or damaging property, but to ensure that it is a peaceful demonstration. That's where the police come in.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting how you have put it. Well put. Let me come to you, sir. When you talk about your right to picket and demonstration, yes, you have said that you guys have looked at all other ways, constitutional ways of solving these issues that you have actually raised, but you have not yet met them, and that is why you've resorted to demonstration. Some of the issues that you guys are raising are very pertinent, and that is the high cost of living, the high cost of maybe manufacturing, and so on and so forth. Yes. But most of these issues that you guys are raising are issues that touch on policy making.
Yes.
Policies are made by the parliament.
Yes.
Azimio, the opposition,
yes,
has got parliamentarians in the Azimio.
Yes.
What have you done to that extent to ensure that you have made policies or you have come up with policies or proposed policies to the government that will solve these issues so that we cannot have these protests and demonstrations, this done to lower the cost of living and so on and so forth?
You know, Mr. Kwach, when a government is elected, it is the work of the government to form policies that will cushion the citizens. It is not the work of the opposition. The work of the opposition is to check on the government and to see if what they are doing is right or wrong. And if the opposition sees that the government is headed in the wrong direction, that is when they raise objections. And those are the areas now the opposition will start now to correct the government and tell them in this area you should have done this and this and this. And that is done through petitions and through parliament. But now the government of today is 6 months old in government. And we the citizens and the people in Azimio are waiting to see the policies that they form to caution the citizen and the general mwananchi from the hardships and everything that is happening in the country. And there is no policies coming forth. What have been happening in the government of today is chest thumping and a lot of rhetoric talks and somehow diverting from being a government to being a party. I think that is where the government is causing troubles, and that is why the opposition are looking of ways to correct the government, because they've forgotten that they are a government, and now they are viewing their election or their being in office as a party. That is the point of clash between the opposition and the government, because even as we speak now, there are no policies the government has put forth to Kenyans that will cushion them from the problems they are facing now as Kenyans. Yes.
Before I come to you, Mr. Victor, let me ask you again, from where you sit as a person in opposition, those in opposition, what is the true picture of these issues that are burdening the opposition? How heavy? What are these issues? Maybe someone may be asking, maybe someone is not from Jerusalem. Maybe you can tell them, what are these issues that you are fighting for?
The issues that the opposition are fronting are not of the opposition. They are issues affecting Kenyans. And we as Azimio, you know, we have followers. And according to last election, which was contested even to the court, Azimio controls the larger majority in this country.
Yes.
And it is this majority who are pushing the leader. Because in every group there must be a leader. And the leader have to voice what they are saying down there. And that is what the opposition has picked on and they are fronting. It is not the needs or the desires of the opposition, but there are things that are being pushed by the general Mwananchi. They put forth to their leader, so their leader can front where to the offices concerned. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We are taking another break, but we are coming right back, and of course we'll be back with more. Thank you so much, our viewers. Can you let us go for a short break? We're taking a quick short break, but we will be right back after this break with much more.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment unasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out. Hata hiyo time out kwa football na kando.
Wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi. Tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume.
Kuna wale ambao ni artistic.
Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I'm coded to look for solutions.
You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Everywhere. Everywhere. GBS.
Welcome back to this live broadcast, and thank you so much for staying with us. And we're still having this conversation on the Insight today. And of course, I still have my two guests, Mr. Victor and of course Okoth Oluoch, still here for this conversation, intriguing conversation to of course enlighten you on some of these issues, very pertinent issues of our time. Let me come to you, Mr. Victor. Yes. You have heard how he has discussed on these very issues. But of course he says and believes that they have actually used all ways through which they can bring resolve to some of the very pertinent and critical issues that are not only affecting them, but are affecting the common mwananchi. From where you sit as a constitutional lawyer, are there other ways through which we can bring resolve other than demonstrations which are eating Kenyans day in, day out?
Yes, Mr. Kwach, I believe there are still other ways in which the opposition, as they want to call themselves, can raise their issues. I do not believe if demonstration is the last resort. Mm-hmm. Because as per now, we are talking about issues of high economic or rather high cost of living. Mm-hmm. So when these people go on the streets, mm-hmm. you know, property is being destroyed, mm-hmm. people are not going to work. Mm-hmm. So the question is, for how long is this going to happen? Mm-hmm. That is my main question. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I believe that question has been posed to you,
yes,
Mr. Okoth.
Yes.
For how long?
There is no for how long.
Mm-hmm.
As long as the government is not doing the right things, mm-hmm. common mwananchi will feel the effects and will be pressed by life. Mm-hmm. So unless the government come up with policies mm-hmm. and articulate them openly and tell people and tell the common mwananchi, mm-hmm. this is what we are doing mm-hmm. concerning the issues you are raising, mm-hmm. then that is when things will go down. Mm-hmm. In fact, the best way the government outdoes opposition mm-hmm. is the government to convince common mwananchi, and the good they do to the people mm-hmm. will buy people to their side. Mm-hmm. The common mwananchi will go to their side. Mm-hmm. When the common mwananchi goes to their side, even if my party leader, mm-hmm. Raila Amolo Odinga, mm-hmm. calls for maandamano, mm-hmm. no one will go. Mm-hmm. Because he will call for maandamano mm-hmm. Citing high cost of living. Mm-hmm. While this person is getting unga at 70, mm-hmm. which the government provides, mm-hmm. they will not go to the street. Mm-hmm. Who will wake up and go to the street if actually what the government promise has been given? Mm-hmm. No one will go. Mm-hmm. And by buying the government doing the right thing and buying the general public to their side, mm-hmm. the opposition will toe the line mm-hmm. and actually see mm-hmm. that the government has done something. Mm-hmm. As we are currently, mm-hmm. The government has done nothing mm-hmm. to the common mwananchi. Mm-hmm. Yes, there are so many things they are saying, but mm-hmm. they are not in touch with the common mwananchi. Mm-hmm. For example, the price of unga. Mm-hmm. The price of unga currently is so high. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think it is the same mm-hmm. or higher mm-hmm. than the price the last government left. Mm-hmm. Because the last government did put subsidy. Mm-hmm. And despite the political temperatures, mm-hmm. the unga was subsidized to 100 shillings. Mm-hmm. And the common mwananchi was getting the unga. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was there. Mm-hmm. But Kenya is a big country, mm-hmm. so big. Mm-hmm. When you subsidize unga through manufacturers, mm-hmm. it is upon the manufacturers to distribute. Mm-hmm. It is not you again to go and carry the unga on your back and mm-hmm. give to the common mwananchi.
Yes, and there have been claims that the opposition leaders are actually taking advantage of the high cost of living and the inadequacies of this government to front for very personal and individual issues that they want to be solved through handshake and even through a dialogue.
Handshake cannot solve the issues raised mm-hmm. by opposition currently, mm-hmm. because If handshake was to solve these matters, then we don't need an election. An election is a way of putting a divide between principles and character and ability of a person. Now, if I cannot do it, and the people give you the mandate to do it, you should do it and actualize it. Yes. For example, if you let the opposition to take advantage of your weakness, why should you be in office?
Okay.
You should step out because you are giving the opponent, that means you are giving the mandate. And the opposition are seeing your weak points, and they are using the weak points to articulate them better to the lower person, that is the common mwananchi. And they are resonating with the issues the opposition are raising. Why is it that the population is leaving you and going to the opposition? That should be the starting question.
Okay. Now that you've talked about, now that you talk about dialogue and conversation, let me ask you this question, because the business leaders, sections of leaders, religious leaders across the country are calling for a dialogue between the president and the opposition. There seemingly is an ego game between the president and the opposition. My question is, what is the truest definition of the issue behind this standoff? How can it be resolved? Can a handshake or a dialogue resolve the issue that we are facing currently? And from where you sit, what is the barrier to this dialogue that religious leaders, other leaders are indeed seeking?
Yes, Mr. Koch, my understanding of what you have just asked, and I can answer it in this way, is that the problem that we are facing as a country is lack of honesty. Where I sit, I'm not so sure if the opposition is calling for demonstrations because of the high cost of living, or there is an underhand in which they are trying to overthrow the government by way of demonstration. That has to be made clear. Are we going the Greece way or the Arab way? That is one question.
What is the Greece way and what is the Arab way?
The Arab way, it's like the Arab uprising, whereby we saw Hosni Mubarak was overthrown, we saw it in Tunisia, and we saw it in the Middle East. The Greece way, these masses were demonstrating because of the high or the harsh economic times. And we saw the International Monetary Fund and other non-government entities, they came in and they bailed out Greece from becoming a bankrupt nation. So now the opposition needs to tell us which is the right way in which they are approaching this issue. On the issue of the handshake, so much has already been said about it. And where I sit, I don't see that happening. Because the president has already pronounced himself on the same. The leader of opposition has also pronounced himself on that point.
Yes.
So I believe the best way to go forward is for the president maybe to call the leader of opposition, and they can have a discussion. Like we are having a discussion here, and Kenya should also be allowed to view. Then from that, we can see who is the conman and who is telling lies. Then let Kenyans judge for themselves, because I believe they are wise enough to know. That will be my take.
Okay. So what do you think about what he says? He believes that maybe the opposition should tell us if they are told there is an ulterior motive in all these.
My friend Victor is using very heavy words. But my take is the government has no ground, or they claim they don't have anywhere they should call the opposition to talks. And that is the same thing that I said, it is not the opposition that are asking for these talks. And as you have said, you've had the general mwananchi, you've had the Catholic bishops, you've had the clergy, they call for the dialogue. And when you see religious leaders calling for dialogue, it simply means that they don't want to come out and take sides. They don't want to come out. It means there is something that should be discussed. Now the government is playing deaf to these calls.
Okay.
That is where the problem is starting. And true to what we are doing now, or what we are discussing now, the cost of living is so high in Kenya.
Okay.
And what is making the general mwananchi to pick so fast on this government is the kind of promises that they did put forth.
Okay. But there's on this issue that I've actually asked him on business leaders, sections of leaders, including religious leaders, are asking the opposition and the government to sit down and have a dialogue, because this issue of demonstrations are time and over again, because this is not the first experience. We have had this issue, and I can say that there are substantial, there's a substantial precedence to this, what demonstrations can indeed do to a nation, and more so to a democracy like Kenya's. What do you think? What is the true picture? Should they sit down and have a discussion? And from this discussion, what will happen? If you talk about stopping the electoral commission process and of course maybe not doing it single-handedly as a government, involving other stakeholders, including the opposition, what is the true picture of this? Will this solve all these issues? And is a handshake indeed apparent to this? Should we have it? From where you sit?
From where I sit, the leadership of Kenya now should not have a handshake. The government should come up with the policies that trickle down to general mwananchi. But that part, when we talk of dialogue, dialogue are structured ways of talking. You have issues that you want to do. But now the government of today are deaf to these issues. You tell them the cost of unga is high, they tell you it is 170, 180, which is not real. You tell them we need back subsidy to cushion general mwananchi during these hard times. They tell you we are not going to subsidize fuel. No, they are not subsidizing fuel. That is right. It is a stand that the government has taken. But they are taking a stand against mwananchi. Saying against here, what do I mean? They are collecting, remember they are collecting the same money which was being used to subsidize fuel. But this money, they are not using it to put it back to mwananchi. They are using it to their own budget. For example, they are increasing their office allocation. For example, from the last government, it was 4 billion. Right now, the office of the president has been raised to 9 billion.
Yes.
So you see, if they're complaining, the government of yesterday used 4 billion to subsidize unga. And 100 shillings reached us. Unga of 100 shillings reached us. Why are they increasing 4 billion to be used in status only? Those are the issues that are now pushing mwananchi to rise against the government. Yes.
Okay. Maybe you have something to say before as we go for another quick short break?
Yes. I will want to support him on that point. Because actually, it's the duty of the government to caution the common mwananchi. And how do you caution the common mwananchi? By use of subsidies. So if you take away the subsidies, then the common mwananchi is left bare. And there is nothing that can caution the common mwananchi. I do support him on that point.
Thank you so much. We are taking another quick, very short break, and of course we are just coming back right away. Thank you, and stay with us. 21144 is our SMS line at GBS TV Africa at Eugene Ochieng Kwach.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment nasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out kwa football na kakaundo.
Yeah,
wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume. Kuna wale ambao ni artistic. Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I am coded to look for solutions. You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment nasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out. Hata hiyo time out kwa football na account.
Wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume.
Kuna wale ambao ni artistic.
Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I am coded to look for solutions. You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Nakukaribisha tena katika makao makuu yako katika ulimwengu wa michezo.
Yoga is not a sport. Yoga is actually a way of life.
Ukiona FIFA inaingilia kati, it means that the FIFA rules have been violated.
From day one akiingia kwa akademi yako, unamwambia masomo na talent lazima ziende. The moment nasikia masomo imeenda hivi chini, hata time out. Hata hiyo time out kwa football na account.
Wanawake ni wengi actually mpaka saa hizi tumekaa ni kama tumekuwa wanawake wamekuwa wengi kuliko wanaume.
Kuna wale ambao ni artistic.
Yes, wanapenda mambo ya kuigiza.
I am coded to look for solutions. You limit yourself, not the sport doesn't limit you.
We say a dedicated women-only show that focuses only on women.
Everywhere, GBS.
Thank you so much for joining us to this live broadcast. Joined with a new guest, not quite new, but a new one. That is Jonyo Silas, a former Director of Culture and Youth Affairs, Migori County. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us in this conversation. And let me just pose this question to you directly. We are talking about the simmering tension between the opposition and the government. And from where you sit, because I want to say you're in government, the very critical issues and questions that are being raised by the opposition that are affecting the common mwananchi, the hoi polloi. What is the government planning on, how is the government generally planning to bring resolve to these critical issues that are being raised by the Azimio? And how do you want to bring peace? Because there's demonstrations.
Thank you. Good evening, every viewer. I think the demonstrations that are being highlighted here are artificial. They are man-made. They are neither here nor there. But the issues that are being raised by Azimio are genuine. One of them being the cost of living is very high. Everybody accepts that. And now the critical questions that they're asking regarding the food prices, the oil prices, and other issues are affecting all Kenyans, including myself. Regarding the opening of the server and electoral justice, there are very good channels that are stipulated by the Constitution to make them happen. The tension that is being talked about, I don't see it. Today, the President of the Republic was in Nyanza region. You could see the overwhelming welcome that he received. I think that after elections, the losers should accept the defeat. The winners should take up the mantle and steer the country forward. That is what should happen in the Republic, rather than now bringing the confusion that's arising from the opposition. So we from the government say that we inherited a weak economy, everybody knows that, and we are only 6 months into government. His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto has never come up with his own budget. You remember that? We are implementing the budget that was left back by the former president. So by June, we will read our budget, and the plans in that budget is front-loaded in the way that they will intervene to the extent that jobs will be created, the cost of living will go down. I'm a farmer myself. Yeah, recently, the much talked about cheap fertilizer is real. I got some bags at the cost that was said, and I've also planted. So when we do those things through the right channels, and we have a conversation rather than confrontations, then Kenyans together will move forward. Yes.
You're talking about confrontations, and that is the real situation of what is happening. And last Monday we had the demonstrations. Next Monday, on Thursday, next Thursday, and subsequent days, on Mondays and Thursdays, we will be having those unless something is done. And I asked you what the government is doing to have a resolve to all these issues. But again, business leaders, we have other sections of leaders are calling for a resolve of these issues by having a dialogue between the president and the opposition leader. What do you think about this call to have a dialogue, even as there's still an ego game between the president's side and even the oppositions? What do you think? Is a handshake forthcoming? But and if at all it is, then what is the barrier? Why can't they have this handshake?
I think, Eugene, with my humble opinion, the tantrums that are being thrown by the opposition are too late in the day. Elections were announced on the 15th of August 2022. And all the channels that could resolve the grievances that were raised then were exhausted. The losers went to court, the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court justified the elections. They said the elections were done fair and square. And the president was sworn in daytime, not even at night. And everybody accepted. Now, 6 months into the governance, then somebody comes from somewhere and says that there's a whistleblower who is not being mentioned. Then I think this is just bringing confusion for selfish interests. What we want to say is that the President of the Republic of Kenya knows the statecraft of this country. Our democracy says that we do not have the opposition. I mean, we do not have the position, the official opposition leader, as it is at the moment. We have the leader of minority and majority in our legislature. So we can exhaust those avenues. And the president himself has written to the Speaker of the National Assembly to whip members to create the position of the leader of official opposition so that the losers can also have a position where they can articulate structured conversations with the government. Yes.
Okay. Let me come to you, Wakili, and ask you this also very critical question, because we are also trying to find a way forward, because the demonstrations and all these issues, as you had said earlier, are not unprecedented, but there are substantial precedents in our democracy. These are things that actually occur. Most of them occur after every election. But now the question to you, Wakili, the situation in the country, we know, is not the first of its kind. To avoid ethnic profiling, and even what he's saying, individual profiling of kama wale watu wa kung'oa reli, watu wa maandamano, and yule mtu wa handshake, who always seeks handshake after every electoral cycle. To avoid all these things, is there a channel or a way in which we could have a solution to the post-election disagreements that result to demonstrations and further uncertainties within the country?
Yes, Mr. Kwat, I do agree with what my friend has just stated. The Constitution also provides for alternative forms of dispute resolution. But now for you to be amenable to that structure, there must be goodwill. With the so-called chest stamping and the egos, I don't see that happening. And that's why you see people are on the streets. And again, like I said, it is within their rights, but they have to do it within the limits of the law. That will be my take.
When you talk about the limits of the law, what do you mean? What is that law? What does the law say? And I asked you again, we have had this for quite a long time. There's some people who sit somewhere and they're tired, because we always have a long electoral cycle where we have politicians going out to campaign after campaign, long period of election where they filled with a lot of uncertainties. Then after, there are also demonstrations. And this happens in every electoral cycle. People are saying, why can't we have a discussion? Or generally, what is these issues? How can we solve these issues so that we don't have such issues again? That even if we have disagreements, then post-election, we can have agreements that can resolve these issues so that we don't have demonstrations which are affecting us economically.
Yeah, like I said before, the main issue affecting this country is the issue of honesty. You know, when you go into a match and someone loses or another one wins, you need to know that you lost fair and square. And another one needs to know that he won genuinely. So if another person loses and he feels that it was not fair, then chances are we are going to experience the kind of demonstration that we're experiencing today and maybe the next election cycle. So we need to come up with a dialogue, and people need to own up that I lost or I won. Yeah.
And still to you, Wakili,
yes.
How can we have the government? Because the right to demonstrate is in the Constitution. The right to picket and peaceful demonstration is in the Constitution. But even the government is against the demonstrations. They're against the demonstration. But how again can the government ensure stability and security with the right to protest and freedom of expression, given the ongoing demonstration by the opposition? How can they ensure security as well as they allow them the freedom of expression and demonstration?
Yeah, I still insist on the issue of honesty. Like, people can come to demonstrate, which is allowed. But again, within those individuals that are demonstrating, some of them are goons, some of them are criminals. These are the same people that are vandalizing people's property. You saw what happened at Haile Selassie. A lot of buildings were stoned. Some people were whipped. Now the government needs to come in through the rightful agents, in this case the police. And how do you quell or rather calm these people that are demonstrating? The only way is to disperse them. But once you disperse them, it becomes violent. Now that's where the issue comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, Wakili, Mheshimiwa, you have something to say?
Yeah, before he moves on, you know, the government has also a responsibility to protect lives and property. We've got people who have invested their capital. Like, without mentioning names, we have got individuals like insurance companies. You know, if someone wants to invest his capital, you also need to insure your property. So for you to insure, there are high places that are risk in terms of violence or other demonstration. So if you are investing in a particular place and an insurance company comes, you'll have to pay high premiums.
Okay.
And you see that one, investors will run away. And you see, we are talking about development and the economy of a particular place. And that's why you find that some places are lagging behind economically. Reason being, there is no peace or political stability.
Okay.
That's the main question.
Sir, you had something to say?
Yes. I wanted to talk about Maandamano. And Maandamano, or peaceful picketing and demonstrations, are peaceful as we are calling on them. The only problem that is in this country is the government of the day. Because the government is neglecting its duty through the agencies that are required to keep the peace. It is not a duty of the organizers of a demonstration to make sure that peace is there. Because, one, I will be walking on the road demonstrating, and an agitated UDA supporter or government sympathizer would stand by the roadside and throw a stone at me. It is the duty of the police to walk alongside demonstrators, quite different from what we saw the police doing on Monday. The police ganged themselves on one side, literally saying that we are against you, not we are protecting you. The police ganged themselves on one side, and demonstrators are coming from this side. Is that protecting the demonstrators? No. So when the demonstration, if I start demonstrating from here and I've notified the police, this is the route. That is why the Constitution have said the police have to be notified of the direction and the route and the places where you are going to picket, so that the police may accompany you. There have been several peaceful demonstrations of even civil societies and everyone, and the police are escorting them so well. Why don't they escort the Azimio supporters who are demonstrating? Why are they standing opposing? Because when you stand in front of demonstrators, obviously they will see that you are trying to push them.
Okay, your point is taken home. Mheshimiwa?
I want to rebut Mheshimiwa. I think we should be very honest in our conversation. We have heard these leaders from both sides pledging peace when they will go for the demonstrations. The president himself has not refused that people don't go for demonstrations. He has said many times, and even the last time he was in a church somewhere, he said, go for the demonstrations, but make sure you are peaceful and you don't destroy people's property. But what we saw on Monday of last week, on the 20th, was a different scenario. The leader of Azimio himself promised many times that they will be peaceful and they will be carrying white handkerchiefs to show peace. And in the morning of that day, we didn't see those handkerchiefs. We only saw projectiles, stones, and other weapons. And if you could have been a witness at Isili, the youth were charging at the police. One police officer scampered using a fence wall to jump the other side to be safe for his life. So when a leader is saying that they are not being protected, the Constitution, that Wakili will also tell us, I'm not a lawyer myself, does not guarantee any demonstrator to undertake criminal activities. Does not guarantee any demonstrator to confront the police. And that is what we saw in Kibra, in Isili, and in many places that those demonstrations were taking place. So the Article 37 that guarantees Kenyans to go through peaceful demonstrations, to picket, and do so on, has a rider. It says that those demonstrations must be peaceful. And we never saw that. So that is why I agree with Wakili that the government has a responsibility to protect its people, to protect businesses, and to protect the fragile livelihoods that were being destroyed by those demonstrations. You heard when the deputy president was in Mombasa, he said that singular day, Nairobi alone lost close to 2 billion Kenya shillings. That was Nairobi alone. And those demonstrations were all over the country. They were in Kisumu, if you could see. They were in Trans Nzoia, if you could see, and many other places. The government relies on the collection of taxes to deliver on its mandate. There is no any other revenue apart from the loans that we may go for. Those loans only cushion our budget in a certain, but without the revenue that we collect from businesses, we cannot undertake our development.
Okay.
That day alone, the government lost a revenue close to about 4 billion countrywide in a singular day. So if they are saying that they are going to undertake the same 2 days in a week, you can imagine the beating that our economy will suffer.
Okay.
And that is what we are talking about.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I want us to, my director tells me that our time is up, and I'd love you maybe to give a parting shot. And let me start with you, Wakili. From where you sit generally, what is the solution to all these issues that are quite, as I said earlier, it's not the first time we are having this. What is the solution going forward? What can we do to have a peaceful country and to ensure that after every elections, then we have our economy booming more than ever?
Yes, Mr. Kwat, from where I sit, I still insist on the issue of honesty. Like, we are not sure if we are demonstrating so as to lower the cost of living or we are demonstrating so as to remove the president from the office. That is something that needs to be made clear to Kenyans. Because from where I sit, there was an initiative, or rather a talk that people need to go to State House and remove the president from office. That is what needs to be made clear. And we still need to insist on the issue of honesty.
Yes.
Honesty is very key. You cannot deal with someone if you are not honest.
Okay.
You cannot have a discussion with someone and you are hiding a knife in your back.
Okay.
So people need to bring everything on the table and discuss in an honest manner.
Okay.
I think from there on the country will move forward.
Thank you so much, Victor Obuli, a constitutional lawyer. We also have Mheshimiwa here, Ken Okoth Oluoch. Sir, what's your parting shot to all these issues we've discussed?
My parting shot is, and maybe if I give a rebut to my elder here, Azimio and the government, Azimio is an opposition. The government is the government of all plus the opposition. It is the right of the opposition to rise and champion the voice of the general Mwananchi when they feel they are oppressed by the current regime. So what Azimio is fronting is not for Azimio, it's for the local person. And the government should come up with policies and correct what the Azimio is saying are wrong, the issues that Azimio is raising. The cost of living, selecting of IBC commissioners and general elections to put good mechanisms and good people in the office, and that so that when people lose elections, you don't have evidence or don't have traits of cheating, and that is what is causing a lot of chaos in this country. At the moment where we are, the government, as my elder Mr. Silas is saying, is 6 months in office. 6 months in office, the government was not elected, and then it is today that they are waking up. Before an election, everyone, I think we saw it everywhere, everyone has a plan. And the government does not have money which is seated somewhere for the next government to start working. The government collects its money every day, every month. That is why we always get the news about revenue collection from. So the money that is collected that has been collected from August up to now, it is being used by the current administration. Not that they will start getting money in June, as Mr. Silas is saying. They are getting money now, and what is wrong should be corrected now. You don't wait until your child dies. When now you come and say we were plowing or we were planting maize.
Jojo.
Yes.
Kindly give us your parting shot.
Thank you. I feel that if the Azimio fraternity will stop the demonstrations, and the youth will be engaged in a useful manner to the extent that they can be productive for this country, then our livelihoods, our economy will improve. And the channels of engagement that are available within our political space guarantees even the opposition leader to reach out to the president. He can even walk to State House and talk to him on the things that he feels are not being done right as a councillor and as an elder and as a statesman. But mobilizing the youth who are vulnerable, my good friend, trampling on the businesses of women who are also vulnerable, mobilizing the borders who are also vulnerable, and jeopardizing the bottom-up economy that we are trying to build is not correct. So going forward,
Okay.
I would like to beseech my brothers from Azimio side to also know that this country is for all of us. It is not for one singular person.
Thank you so much.
So either way, we need each other as countrymen. These ethnic tensions that are making us to, come up with these binary oppositions are not necessary.
Mheshimiwa.
How do you tell the youth to get engage in the right channels while the deputy president of this country is on record saying, I'm walking around the State House, checking on people who did not come vote for us, and I will chase them away.
I get a point, but my director tells me that time is pretty gone. And of course, Mr. Jonjo tells us about the bottom-up economic model, the government of Mama Mboga and Boda Boda.
Yes.
And of course, some had said, I heard people saying somewhere that I thought actually the Mama Mbogas and Bao had already been taken to status and working for the government. Where is the opposition getting them from? That is a conversation for another day.
Sure.
Altogether, yes. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making this happen. It was indeed an intriguing conversation for us and even Kenyans who are following us pretty well. Thank you so much, our viewers, for following and, of course, for staying with us throughout this live broadcast. Of course, this is the Insight, where we get to delve deeply into issues that affect you one by one, and of course through the eyes of different stakeholders who indeed get to help us to analyze these issues further for you. On behalf of everyone else who has made this happen, we want to wish you a very good night, a happy Friday, and of course let's meet next Friday. My name is Eugene Ochieng Kwach. Good night.